I was actually taken just an hour after we filmed that video that you just watched. We were driving through a number of checkpoints, and on the last checkpoint before our hotel in Slavyansk, some armed men who had my picture recognized me and pulled me and some of my colleagues out of the car, and that's how my detention began. We were taken to the SBU Security Services building that's been taken over by pro-Russia gunmen now, and I was separated from my other colleagues and taken down into the basement blindfolded. I had my hands tied behind my back, and I was thrown on the floor and beaten up and then held there for the next 3 days.
Did these men who took you say who they were?
Some of them were very clearly locals from Slavyansk, my sort of caretakers, the people who brought me food. And there was a sort of another echelon of gunmen who were also seemed to be local in terms of being from the same city. They were kind of more ragtag. And then there were those guys who we called the special ops guys. And they looked a lot more professional, had more modern guns and uniforms that matched. And they could very well have been from Ukraine, and I wasn't able to get any evidence from those guys in particular that they came from Russia. They sounded like they had southern accents to me, so they could have been from Ukraine or southern Russia. But I think that there are a lot of local Ukrainians involved in this pro-Russia uprising. But you know, as I showed in that other video, there are definitely Russian citizens down there as well.
Why did they release you?
It's hard for me to say, but I think maybe the self-declared mayor of Slavyansk, who I think is the person calling the shots and who ordered my release, was eventually tired of all of the pressure that he was getting from journalists asking after me. I think the problem, though, now is that there are local journalists and just other activists, Ukrainian people, who are still being held by him for no apparent reason, and there's not been a lot of attention put on their cases because they're not foreign.
Right.
And they've been down in that same cellar that I spent 3 days in for weeks now, and I think that there should be a lot more attention brought to their cases.
Did you see any evidence of any kind that the Russian state was involved in what was going on there?
In the place where I was actually being held, I was blindfolded the entire time, and when I was being interrogated, I wasn't ever allowed to look at the faces of the people interrogating me. So I wasn't asking them for their business cards either. So I don't know whether they were or weren't from Russia. I can't say for sure.
Did you get any evidence that they were organized as opposed to being some group of irregulars?
They were a group of irregulars who were organized, in my view. I think they communicate with the other pro-Russia cities that have been, well, the pro-Russia forces that have taken over administration buildings and in other parts of Ukraine. And I think they're pretty coordinated in what they're doing.